All right, let's go to another Saturday game in the SEC. It's LSU playing Mississippi State. First, if you want to get free plays every day, go to jimwins.com, the website. You'll get free plays. You can get them right to your cell phone, or you get a free daily report from Jim just by calling a free number. Check it out, jimwins.com. All right, we have this terrific battle here, SEC opener between LSU and Mississippi State, old rivals. And LSU opened a 2-point favorite on the road, and the total of 48. However, we've seen early action, and it's all been on the LSU Tigers here. It's now up to 4, and the total has gone up to 49.5. We're looking at about 80% of the early money on the LSU Tigers, and it's certainly a revenge game for LSU because they lost last year at home. They were ranked number 8th in the country. They were a 7-point home favorite, and Mississippi State won the game 34-29, and it was a big deal for Mississippi State because they had lost 14 in a row to this team. They hadn't won in LSU in Baton Rouge since 1991, and they really dominated 17-3 at the half. And the difference maker was Zach Prescott, who is back for this year. First, this LSU Tiger team, kind of an unusual situation here. Technically, it's their second game, but they only played 5 minutes last week as their game got rained out. But there's a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. They were 5th in the nation in points allowed last year. They do have a new defensive coordinator in Kevin Steele, but he inherits absolutely boatload of talent, particularly up front. So this is expected to be one of the best defenses in the SEC and the country. Again, so Jeff, the situation though, do you look at this one as matchup, situational, handicapping, or even history for this one?
Well, usually all three, but we could have got a better look at LSU if they had played that game, but the only good thing is they didn't have any injuries and they'll be rested, so that's one good thing. But Mississippi State is definitely in a rebuilding season, so I'd like the LSU at -2 and then -3, and now it's up to 4. By the end of the week, though, it might not be such a great play anymore. The LSU has several new players to break in, plus a new defensive coordinator took over for John Chavis, Kevin Steele. Quarterback Brandon Harris only started last year, was against Auburn. He started one game and lost 41-7. They're solid at wide receiver, Trayvon Durrell, Malachi Dupre, and Trey Quinn. Except last year they were last in the SEC in passing yards, so they have to improve there this year, and they probably will. The defense returned 6 starters, and it's still going to be a great defense. Miss State won that game 34-29 last year. They almost blew it. They had a big lead, and then LSU came roaring back and just missed winning that game. Mississippi State returns only 8 starters. Last year was the year that Mississippi State really thought they'd come out big. That was the year they were pointing to. They had all these seniors and veterans, but they fizzled it at the end of the year, and now they kind of like rebuild again. They had a sloppy game against Southern Miss. They won 34-16. Brandon Holloway had a 100-yard kickoff return to kind of spark the team. Dak Prescott was 22 of 38 for 237 yards, 2 TDs, plus 72 rushing yards. The defense played without one of the best defensive backs, Tavell Calhoun. He'll probably play this week though. There's a question mark on offense though. They're rebuilding that offensive line. They lost 3 starters, and also on the LSU side, we have to see how this new defense coordinator works out. They had one of the best in the country, but he left for A&M. So, but all in all, looking at the experience and the defense and everything else here, and all those things that you mentioned, I'm going to go with LSU here, John.
All right, you mentioned the sophomore quarterback, Brandon Harris, for LSU. Hasn't had a lot of experience. Only a freshman last year, but he was named the starter very recently, too. So that's certainly a question mark for the LSU offense. It's too bad that they didn't play more minutes last week to get the offense in sync. This Mississippi State team kind of rebuilding in some areas on the team. Still, they got 5 starters back on offense, but only 4 on defense. The key, though, is Dak Prescott is back. He's a senior. He was just dynamic last year. 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, plus he pitched in 986 yards rushing. So he's a key cog on offense that LSU simply doesn't have. The way I'm going to look at this game would be the defense, because Mississippi State only 1 starter back on the offensive line. That's definitely something to think about as they're playing this terrific LSU defensive front. And then you got 2 teams that were top 25 defensively in all of college football last year. LSU was number 17th in points allowed, and this Mississippi State team was number 23 in points allowed. Mississippi State on a 26-15-1 run under the total. They're solid all around. That's the way I'm going to look at this huge SEC showdown game. Lots of defense, maybe some run-oriented offense, and still I have question marks with what the LSU offense is going to do. We all do, because we haven't seen much of Brandon Harris, and we didn't see anything from them last week. So I'm looking at a defensive SEC opener, maybe a 20-13 kind of final. All right, let's get to our third game going on Saturday, which is really a non-conference doozy here. Oregon is playing at Michigan State. It's a revenge game for the Spartans, and they'll be at home for this one. Here's the early betting numbers. Michigan State opened 2.5 with a total of 67.5, and the early money has come in on the home field here. Spartans now up to 3.5, 75% of the early money coming in on Michigan State. It's a revenge game for the home team. You know, they went to Oregon last year in week 2, and they were in command of this game through 3 quarters and even into the 4th. They had leads of 27-18 in the 3rd, 24-18 at the half, and then they just kind of ran out of gas. It was a hot, muggy day in the Northwest at the time, and when you're playing that Oregon offense, you don't want it to be hot and humid, but they seem to run out of gas. But some of the offensive numbers in the game were just sensational. Oregon had the great comeback and won 46-27. They ended up with 491 yards against a terrific Michigan State defense. But the Spartans had 466 yards. Connor Cook, who's a senior this year, was exceptional. 29 of 47 for 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The big story at Oregon, they're still one of the top teams in the country talent-wise. They lost Mariota, but they get they kind of lucked out getting Vernon Adams, a transfer from Eastern Washington, and we got to see him a little bit last week playing his old team, Eastern Washington, and it was he was electric. 61-43, they won with 731 yards running that no-huddle attack. He was dynamite, did suffer a late hit in the game and came out, but reports are that he's going to be available for this one. And everybody else on the Oregon offense is just loaded with depth and talent. So, Jeff, this is not Eastern Washington, and certainly it's a big revenge game here for the home team. Who has the edge?
I don't see the edge. That's right. I'll probably lay off this game because looking at it right now, I just don't. It's not a game that I'll probably take. But Vernon Adams was just as advertised, 19 of 25, no interceptions, 2 TDs, 246 yards. Plus 101 rushing yards. Royce Freeman had led the rushing attack, 180 yards. The team averaged 8.5 yards per carry. The defense allowed what you mentioned, 438 passing yards. 246 went to the one person, Cooper Kupp, and so there's no question about Oregon's offense. They're going to put up points, but Michigan State right now is more of. I'm not sure about this team yet because they lost a lot of players and we had some issues in that game against Western Michigan. The pass defense wasn't good, and there were some special team mishaps. The running game was good. L.J. Scott, 77 yards. Madre London, 59 yards. Gerald Holmes, 54 yards, 9 carries. Connor Cook was 15 of 31, 256 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions. Mark D'Antonio was 17 of 9 against the spread with revenge. Too many things going either way here. I just don't see, at this point in time, I don't see a reason to take this game, John.
All right, well, Michigan State has the home field in this one, and Connor Cook, he's been playing for quite a while, including that upset of Ohio State 2 years ago in the Big Ten title game. Last year as a junior, he had 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 58% completions. He's just a terrific all-around talent. They do have some replacements, though, at running back and wide receivers. They lose the top 2 in both of those categories. It certainly is a good spot for the home team here. However, Michigan State hasn't been covering these home games. 4-2 last year, but that's they got a run here of 6-13 against the spread at home, and over the last 6 years, 29-40 against 28-41 against the spread home mark. What they're going to do on offense is to go balance. Now, we saw that last week when they played Western Michigan. They won 37-24, didn't cover, but they had 196 yards. And Connor Cook was not on his game, despite the fact they scored plenty of points. It was the 9th straight game that they've topped 30 points, but he was a little bit erratic, which you can understand in week 1. So I was originally looking at the over in this game, but boy, 67.5. You look, they're predicting roughly a 40-30 kind of final score, similar to last year. That seems a bit much for week 2 to me, particularly with Michigan State being at home. So I will lean here toward the visitors in this one. Oregon's just got so much talent on offense. No matter how far they're down, they can come back. And I'm a believer in this Vernon Adams. What he did against some Pac-12 schools while he was with Eastern Washington was just sensational. He's not your average newcomer. He's a very experienced kid, and we saw him dazzle last week. So he's as good as advertised. And also keep in mind, if you like to play trends, Oregon 43-28 and 1 run over the total. Michigan State on a 12-3 run over the total, but I'm going to side to small lean here with the underdog. All right, let's get to some best bets and tell everybody what we have going on for the weekend. I'm going to go with this LSU Mississippi State game under the total. Jeff, you certainly enjoyed the last week with your top play Saturday. How can folks get aboard in the NFL, which is coming up?
Yeah, I'll go with LSU also for my, well, not also, but LSU at the side for my best bet on the show. You're going to get 3 weeks of NFL action at LVSS for just $29. Just call the number on your screen, ask for LVSS, get the first 3 weeks of NFL season for just $29. Just don't miss out. And also go to jimfeist.com every day for football and baseball selections. Call that number on the screen, ask for LVSS, 3 weeks, $29.
All right, goes the best time with the sports wagering calendar. Jim Feist off that 14-7 NFL preseason run, including his preseason game of the year. Last weekend, he had his shocker of the month on Saturday. That was UL Lafayette. He had his top play on Alabama. Jeff, you had that Bama as well. He also had a high-end inner circle release. That was a shocker on BYU, and they got the straight-up win at Nebraska. If you want to get Jim's plays, just call the number on your screen for the specials. Also, go to jimfeist.com. All right, that'll do it for this week's college football edition of Proline. Jeff and I will be back next week. Good luck with the games, everyone, and we'll see you then.